My name is Mark Stewart, and I'm a resident of Walkertown, North Carolina. Not originally, definitely from Illinois at first. When Joel started school, he started having some real problems. I mean, Joel had had his moments, but he was actually a pretty good kid. He started having emotional breakdowns. He started having violent temper tantrums. You know, you had this little baby, and you think, you know, it's all perfect, it's got all its toes and fingers, and you get all these hopes for it. And you know, you're going to go to college, and they're going to do this, and you hope they're going to win a Nobel Prize or something, you know, cure cancer. You've got all these hopes for them. And then you get the diagnosis, autism. And it's like your world comes crashing. So our 6-year-old child was about to be put into basically a juvenile delinquent school with kids that were high schoolers in and out of juvie hall. Got in my car, I took vacation time, and I drove from Southern Illinois to Atlanta, Georgia. Checked out the schools there, drove to Boca Raton, Florida, checked out the schools there, drove to this area, spent a week in Greensboro, and then drove back to Southern Illinois all on one trip.
Mark Stewart is a great example of someone who sets high goals and then is determined to achieve them. When he came to North Carolina, he was seeking a better life for his family. Mark took a leap of faith to relocate in a new state with no job, no home, and no family in this area.
We did what we had to do. We got here and kind of like, what do we do now? And well, I assumed I've got a master's degree, I can find a job. And she had good skills and a 2-year degree, we can find a job. Well, it didn't work out that way.
He used his credit cards to get the family through a transitional period. And while he and Jane looked for jobs and for services for their son Joel.
6 months later, we still didn't have jobs. We managed to pay most of our rent and keep up with it for the most part, but we couldn't pay our food, utilities, you know, water, all this stuff we were paying with credit cards because we had to survive. We couldn't just pack up and move back home. Joel needed what was here. Finally, she got a full-time job, and then shortly after that, I got a full-time job.
After a long search for employment and a place to live, Mark could turn his attention to getting out from under the burden of debt.
I just wanted to sit and cry. I felt like a total failure. And every day, that is on your mind. How am I going to pay this? You know, my wife didn't ask for much when we got married. She asked for a house. She wanted a home of her own. How am I going to provide that if I can't even pay my bills on time? And I was getting calls every single night from the companies that we'd borrowed money from. Hey, you're late. Where's the money? Unless you've been through that, nobody can understand just how those phone calls feel. You know, here I packed my family up, no job, no nothing, and moved them here. And what good has it done? You know, yeah, my child might be doing a little better in school, but it isn't going to do any good if he ends up in the street.
He came to our agency seeking help through a debt repayment plan.
So I went to one of the counselors, Joe, and I said, here's where we're at. You know, we want to pay this debt off. We don't want to declare bankruptcy. Is there anything you can do to help?
Joe Scales guided Mark in choosing the best options for paying off the family's credit cards. He could tell they were determined to succeed and designed a repayment plan for them.
I went in there and he said, you're certainly not living extravagant. And he said, if you can keep your expenses down and keep doing what you can do, we can help. That is a weight off your shoulders. It's like, okay, maybe what we did is going to turn out okay. You then have a deadline. Instead of, you know, I'm not making any headway, now I can go, okay, this is whatever date. I can put the calendar 4 years from this date. I'm paid off. I'm out of debt.
Over the next 3 years, the Stewarts encountered many obstacles, but they never gave up. One of Mark's goals was the incredible feat of purchasing a home for his wife, which he accomplished while never missing a payment on the plan. Truly amazing. Now they're settled in their own home, and they continue to pursue their career goals and their quality of life. Their son is thriving, and they are debt-free.
Especially with Consumer Credit Counseling's help, we got all this paid off. We have a house of our own. We're not behind on any payments on anything. We are doing fairly well.
We are really proud to nominate Mark Stewart as NFCC Graduate Client of the Year for 2008.